Good evening, good evening. We appreciate you all sticking around till the end of the day. We've got a pretty good one here. We're very, very excited about this one. Enter a new reality, the future of live events. Very topical given the current sports environment. My name is Max Williams. I'm a second-year MBA student here at MIT Sloan. And again, we are excited about this one. I think you guys should know by now, but we'll do about 45 minutes of panelists back and forth, and then the last 10 or 15 minutes or so, we'll do audience Q&A. You can submit a question via the app throughout the panel. I'll be up front filtering out the bad questions, so please submit some good ones. And today on our panel, we are joined by Paul Kane, President of Endeavor's IMG Events and OnLocation. We have Liz Lindsay, the President of Brands and Properties at Wasserman, Peter Murphy, SVP of Content and Media at Cosm, Bob Thacker, Vice President of Strategy, Analytics, and Digital Marketing at AEG Global, and we will be moderated by Allison Katz-Mayfield, SVP of Games Delivery and Revenue for LA 2028. So we've got a pretty good panel up here, an esteemed moderator, and we're really looking forward to this one. So, Allison, the floor is yours.
Awesome. I like that I get esteemed and you guys just get,
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
No, thank you all for joining us today. And I'll just say, as a Sloan alum, I'm very excited to be up here moderating. I think this is my 13th Sloan Sports Analytics Conference. So, today we're going to be talking about the future of live events with a cast of people who are both industry innovators as well as veterans. We are acutely aware that this panel is all that stands between you guys and drinks, so we will try to keep this lively and fun. And I think maybe we start off with a softball here.
And we have giveaways.
Oh, we will have some giveaways as well.
Suck up.
And Liz is giving out jobs, so we're good.
Why, you need one?
Yes. After this panel, I will.
After this one. So maybe we'll start off. I think obviously, despite the evolution of the live event, my hypothesis is that some of the things that make live events so special are as relevant today as they were 10, 20 years ago. So maybe we can just kind of go down the line here, and I'd love to hear about your most memorable live event experience, maybe the impact it had on you, and also just what made it so special. Go ahead.
For me, it's easy being, Boston is my hometown, and so it's a thrill to be back here. But Game 2, 2004 World Series, Red Sox, Cardinals. I was working for the LA Dodgers at the time, and growing up, my dad always brought me to Red Sox games. Once every homestand, he would take me in, and so to be able to return that favor and get him tickets for a change and take him to a World Series it was just amazing. And they won, and it was a great night, so that is easily my number one.
I know Bob's not going to like mine because I just previewed it backstage, and the audience might not like it either, but 2012 Super Bowl, New York Giants against the Patriots, the second one. I'm a big New York Giants fan and had the opportunity to go with a close friend. I wasn't even in the industry at the time. We bought tickets on StubHub and flew to Chicago, drove to Indianapolis, went to the game, drove to Columbus, Ohio right after the game, got a 6:30 flight right to the office in New York City. And I just remember not only the win, of course, but the pageantry of the Super Bowl. You talked about impact. I just, you watch it on TV, you see what's broadcast, but just the streets of Indianapolis, the people that aren't even there for the game, the business infrastructure. So I think that was one of the motivating factors in my interest in the sports business world. But hell of a game, Eli, and obviously had a lasting impression.
All right.
Yeah.
Enough.
We're fortunate enough at Wasserman to work with almost every sporting league and team in the world, and so I will say they're all special because I love all my children equally. So I will throw back to college as a very proud double graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I'll say absolutely anytime we crush Duke.
I can brutalize that. I'm a Duke fan too. I mean, this is rough.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I actually, I agree with Liz. We are fortunate enough to,
You can't offend people.
can't offend. I'm fortunate enough to work with so many different sports. I work across sports, entertainment, music, film, television, you name it, too, like Liz. So we've been spoiled. So I'm going to go way back to when I was in college as well. I was at the game where I went to Indiana, and I was at the game where Bobby Knight threw the chair, the infamous game.
Sorry.
That was an incredible moment.
Interesting.
Hard to top.
Yeah, I was
kinda
going to
dark.
say.
Yeah, it was a great moment, though.
The fact that you think it's a great moment, we're going to have a talk later.
Many people do.
Well, I was going to say there felt like there was like a through line here until we got to the violence piece, but
Why is that violent?
It's entertainment,
He
you're
was
right.
standing up for his team
Oh,
because of the bad officiating, which, by the way, led to ultimate national championship eventually. So
there you go.
can't argue with it.
Well, I mean, clearly the live event, it continues to, despite, every year we kind of hear the season ticket member model is dead, the couch is just as good of an experience and it's cheaper and easier. But I think we'd all agree there's nothing quite like experiencing a live event, which I think is apparent in every story that we just heard. And so, that doesn't mean there's not a lot of competition for share of mind, share of wallet, and we're seeing the industry reinventing the live event experience, broadening it in ways that maybe we never considered 5, 10, 15 years ago, and it's much more about than just like the 2 hours on the court or on the field. And so really like to open this up to all of you, and maybe Liz, we can start with you around what is it that you're seeing kind of in your specific organization or with the data, your expertise, that you're seeing is key to both bringing fans back and retaining them, as well as bringing in new fans to the live experience?
Well, first of all, I think we talk a lot, and this is absolutely no disrespect to the amazing work that the first responders and frontline workers did during the pandemic. But what I came out of that being in this industry realizing is what we do is pretty essential. Like that joy and the passion that we bring to people. There have been sectors over time where there was a work stoppage or whatever, but there was always something. And when we hit the place as a global community where there was nothing in live, in music, in sports, and you can literally trace it back to increases in mental health issues and increases in depression among certain people. So that concept of bringing audiences together is essential. The joy is essential. So bringing people back, you could see it. It was people always like, "What did it take to bring people back?" I'm like, "You opened the doors," and everybody ran back in because as audiences we understood that as well. But what I would say for the redefinition is that we have to focus on, and what the audience or the analytics are telling us is two things. You have to redefine what is live, and you have to redefine what is a fan. From a fan perspective, your definition of a fan traditionally, historically, was the person sitting in the seat that bought the PSL. A person who has never gone to one of your events is as equally and passionately a fan if they're watching it on TV, buying your merch, reading about it, engaging in different ways. Right. So we have to, as an industry, let go of the very traditional ways we define fan. And then what is live? I'm telling you, my son's, as an 18-year-old, sitting in a room with 6 of his buddies, not speaking, playing a video game together, that's a live experience for him. Just because it's not with 80,000 people in a stadium doesn't mean isn't as powerful. So as you redefine and understand a fan, redefine and understand live, and then we can truly, truly, truly get to the heart of how to affect both.
I think that is an excellent answer. When I've been in this business for the last 4 or 5 years, but prior to that I was in media, and one thing we always realized was you're either going to watch it, you're going to listen to it, or you're going to want to go to it, and that really helps define the fan. So there's a whole ecosystem of what happens in sports and entertainment, frankly. But in sports, the product on the court, the field, the play, whatever it is that you're creating, that's the most important piece. People during the pandemic, they really craved it. The NBA really drove that, right? I mean, creating the bubble was an unbelievable move. UFC creating, which we own that, and we created this place where you could have UFC happen during the pandemic. That really helped. What Liz was talking about is so true. People wanted that experience. Now, once people started going to it, you saw them light up. What really is the new definition, post-pandemic definition, at least what we're seeing in live event, is number one is the experience is more than the ticket and what's on the play. It's the whole ecosystem. So people have a different expectation now. They want a little bit more access, they want more information, they expect more from the commentators, they expect more connection with the talent, they want their social, there's responsibility of the players, there's responsibility of the owners, there's responsibility of the leagues, as well as the venues and the whole ecosystem. That widening changed everything. And we see that in events that we own, we see it in events we work with as partners across every single sport you can imagine.
And Peter, maybe going to Liz's comment about redefining what live is, can you maybe give us a briefer on what Cosm is and how you guys are thinking about the live event?
Yeah, absolutely. So Cosm is really the world's first shared reality venue, and shared reality is something that we're trying to introduce to the market. We are effectively building entertainment venues that feature state-of-the-art technology, namely large-scale LED domes, which I know are getting a lot of press these days. We're fortunate to have built a business on the back of some acquisitions. One business, namely the world's largest planetarium technology business, has been in this space for 75 plus years. So we've actually been doing it for a long, long time, not just over the course of the last couple of years. And our business was really born out of the pandemic. So Cosm came together in 2020. I remember interviewing for a job at Cosm and thinking to myself, are people gonna have to sit 6 feet apart like in our venues? Why are we starting a venues business? But to Liz's point, I think when we think about what we can do at Cosm, it's bridging the physical and virtual worlds together. So through the technology, we can bring you courtside to an NBA game. We can bring you cage side to a UFC match that's happening in Abu Dhabi. We can bring you pitch side to an Arsenal-Liverpool game that's happening at Anfield. And we can give you an experience not only of being there as a fan, but also delivering the hospitality experience to pair. So F&B, think fish and chips or Carlsberg beer at an EPL game on, at 7 o'clock in the morning in LA. We know that from the data, like millennials, I think 80% prefer experiences over products, right? That's a big trend that people are talking about. People want to go to events. They don't want to necessarily buy shoes. I mean, people do want to buy shoes, but I think that was part of the thesis in terms of people want to be together. As you mentioned, year over year, you see these massive phenomenons like the Eras Tour. Like when I bought a Super Bowl ticket, to my earlier point, I mean, I thought it was the most expensive thing I'd ever buy. It was $1,500. I think the average get-in price this year was $10,000 in Vegas. I mean, Vegas had a lot to do with it, but like the business of live events is obviously is growing rapidly.
No, actually, I think these guys had a lot to do with the price.
There you go. Yeah,
I can
exactly.
give you more stat on that.
Yeah,
that's you
right.
finish.
No, I was just saying. So you have the business tailwinds. I mean, what we're doing at Cosm is really trying to also democratize access to a lot of these events because some are price prohibitive, or because some people won't get to England to see an EPL match. NBA, a partner of ours, they say 99% of fans never make it to an arena. So how can we provide an outlet in a local market for people to feel like they're sitting courtside?
This is the hard part of where it's all going. So what Liz and I were just referencing is one of the businesses I oversee is OnLocation. OnLocation works with 150 rights partners around the world, taking their world's biggest events, taking their premium inventory, creating experiences, and then pricing it at a premium. The reason why we do that is we work with those rights partners and this is kind of an important part of the sports industry, is to clean up what's called the secondary. So what is a secondary? So in the old days, you get a Super Bowl, you'd sell it out, you'd have a ticket price of about $1,500 or whatever it was, and then ticket scalpers would grab it, and then they would make money on it. The NFL lost all the money. So what the NFL did is they created OnLocation to own the full ecosystem by creating those tickets and creating the aftermarket, by creating better value, more experiences, higher value products through hospitality or meet and greets or on the field access and things like that for their best tickets. That brought all of that secondary business back into the NFL. So the get-in price for the face value, you're correct, was about $10,000. But the average ticket price for real was way higher because we had, a significant portion of the stadium under our control on the behalf of the NFL, and our average ticket price went up significantly as a result. I mean, part of our highest ticket values, for example, a $10,000 or $12,000 on the 50 ticket could go for $75,000 or $100,000 when you paired it with the right experiences. And there, so for that reason,
Only $100 at Cosm, by the way, if you want to have that same experience.
No, but that's a really important thing. So back to my watch, you want to go to it. If you can't go to it, you'll watch it. If you can't watch it, you'll listen to it. By the way, going to it is going to a Cosm event, going to something where you can get that virtual experience. Apple is coming out with a new headset, right? That experience, that's another virtual experience. Anytime you can get the experience of the event, you're going to want to do it. And that's really what we're in the business of. All of us are in the same business. We are here to help people find the way to their best, most valued event.
And I think, we've talked about different types of venues. That word experience keeps coming up a lot. And I think, there's the new side of things with what Cosm is doing. And then, Bob, I'd love to hear your thoughts, right? You guys oversee a venue that's on the older side in crypto, and yet it's still really a model for the current live event experience. And so from your perspective, what does a best-in-class venue look like for delivering that experience today? And what are some of the critical capabilities needed to deliver those experiences?
Well, I think the first thing is you need to deliver the experience, right? To your point, you're charging these incredible price points. You really need to deliver. Your clients are really expecting a lot from you. And that's what we strive to do every day. And I think, people were anxious to come back to live events. And then we delivered for them. We provided a great experience for them, and we hope that keeps them coming back. And I think we reminded them that we are best in class, and we've always done a good job. We've always provided a very clean and a very safe environment to enjoy games and other live events with your family. In terms of how, at Crypto.com Arena and LA Live, we have an incredible district that can give you, anything you want. To enjoy before and after a game. And truthfully, maybe that's just because you don't want to deal with the traffic and the peak hours right before a game. But we've created this kind of 360 environment. You can even spend the night at LA Live if you want to with the hotels that we have nearby. So, I remember the first Kings game that I ever took my son to. I took him to his first movie at the same time because there's a movie theater right there. So we saw Zootopia. We made it in for the second period of the Kings game. He got to see the Zamboni, and then he was asleep in my arms, and we were out of there. So, we're also, you mentioned that the building being a little bit older, we're currently going through a massive renovation. So we've refreshed the suite levels. We've put in tunnel suites and terrace suites, which both very unique high-end products. And then we have a further renovation coming this off-season where we're going to blow out the wall on the City View Terrace so that you'll actually be able to see out into the downtown LA skyline from the bowl. And so not only are we providing the premium products that a lot of other venues have and our high-end customers have become accustomed to, but in the 300 level, we're also going to have a premium experience where people aren't necessarily tethered to their seats and can enjoy in a more social atmosphere the game going on below.
I mean, the Hawks did a great job of taking those top terrible seats, right, and turning into a Top Golf and a sports bar experience, and really created premium in a completely less than premium spot.
Absolutely.
I think, you talked about actually delivering and then some of the changes you're making. And Liz, would love to kind of get your perspective on how partners are playing a role in that delivery and what you're seeing in terms of kind of integrating and collaborating on kind of that bigger real estate play.
Partners, by partners, you mean brand sponsors?
Yes.
Yeah. So not as much as they should be, and not for lack of trying. I think the venues need to be a little bit more open to it. Let me give you guys a prime example. So there are some brands, at the end of the day, the brands are in your buildings because their consumers are in your buildings. Gone are the days, for the most part, where it's like, I'm a sponsor because my CEO's a fan or something like that. Put it away. They're there because they've done the research, they've done the work, they've hired lovely, beautiful people like our research and insights team to tell them that their fans are there and that's where they should be. So if their fans are there, they're there for a reason, which is to sell something to that fan. They're not there for anything other than moving product, and this is a platform that'll help us move product. We work with Nike, and one of my favorite quotes of all time from the head of Nike, every single time we put research in front of him, is, did it sell more shoes? It's the only question he ever asks, did it sell more shoes? And so when they're there for a reason, And so enhancing the experience for their fans or their consumers enhances the experiences for your own. If anyone here is from New York and has a chance to go to the US Open in tennis, I can guarantee you have touched something given to you by American Express, who is there making the entirety of that experience better for their card members, and as a result, all the spectators of the US Open. The thing that I think is really interesting is the opportunity, and this is a very data-driven conversation that Shelley, who leads our team, she and I have this all the time, about understanding if you are a venue and your credit card partner is there for a reason, I guarantee you they know a little bit about how to move payment transactions they're in their area of expertise. So use that. And when you're reinventing how to move people through your merch store, when you're reinventing how to do on-demand purchases that are brought to the seat, talk to your credit card partner. I will tell you, we do a ton of work for Molson Coors. For the record, they know how to build a bar, and they know how to sell some beer. It stuns me how little they get asked by their partners to provide that level of expertise. And think about this as a venue holder or as a real estate partner, is if you actually listen to them about how to build a better experience, where to put the bar, how to operationalize people in and out of it faster to sell more beer, then guess what? The next time their deal comes up, it's worth more money because they sold more deal. So they sold more beer, which increased the value of their relationship with you. So if we brought the ecosystems together of operationally how you run a building and commercially what your partners do with it, both sides win.
So, I mean,
And it's all about selling more beer. We should have some here.
I was
Is that
going
in
to
the
say,
gift
we
bag?
really need to
It
have
might
some.
be. There might be beer in the gift bag, or at least a voucher.
So we've been talking about the in-venue, however we're defining venue experience, but Paul, you touched on this a little bit, that the fan experience is much broader than that, and certainly for hospitality purchasers often starts long before they ever get to the venue. And I think we talked about this, the term, the purchase to memory experience, right, was coined, I think, at the
It
conference?
was coined right here 4 years ago.
There you
Purchase
go.
to memory. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that idea of
On the
purchase to
panel, we
memory?
were together.
Oh, that's right, we were together. I forgot that, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that purchase to
Yeah.
memory experience and how you guys curate that?
So to catch you all up, since you probably weren't here, so when OnLocation, I worked for Endeavor, and Endeavor bought OnLocation a little over 4 years ago, and the notion of OnLocation was to, as I described earlier, what we expanded it under Endeavor is said, you know what, the experience doesn't begin when you get to the venue. It actually begins from the moment you decide you're going to go. So think about it, like the day you purchase it or the day you make that purchase, that's the beginning of your experience, or at least it should be. And then it shouldn't end until you get home to tell people about it. So we coined it here as it's from purchase to memory. And that ultimately became the product that we built, is a purchase to memory product. Now, the value of that is you now have a different relationship with that customer. And our rights holding partners have the ability to have that relationship from the customer. Like, for example, we're doing the Olympics. Allison runs LA28. I'm going to
Not the
tell
whole
Casey
thing.
that. Don't tell Casey that.
I try to tell Casey Wasserman very little.
She works at LA28. We also are doing the Paris Games this summer in 24. Hopefully you knew there was a game this summer in Paris. And if you purchase one of our experiences, which would include hotel, travel, transportation, ticketing, hospitality, you name it, it's a full experience, then the moment you purchase it, your journey with us begins. And what we try to do, depending on your type of customer you are, we will then create a purchase to memory experience. And we want you to go home with something, like we're gonna all collectively have you go home with something today, hopefully, some of you, is that memory. That memory is so important because that's what you're gonna come back to then do again. And we show our rights partners how to do that in order to build a more loyal, connected relationship with their customers. And we see the value grow. So for example, in the Super Bowl, since we've been putting that purchase to memory product out there, the renewal rate on Super Bowl purchases have gone up quite a bit. And then also the price opportunity has gone up quite a bit because people now seek out our NFL experience versus buying just a ticket on the secondary. That is making the sport more valuable. We brought that to like the UFC. UFC, some of those experiences could be, you could be next to the octagon. You can go walk through the fight tunnel. You can go to the locker room. There's a lot of different things you can do. That all of a sudden we see value to that relationship with the UFC fan grow. So you apply very specific marketing terms, what Molson does to regain their customers and renew them again and again and again. We're doing that at the scale of sport.
And I think also with the Super Bowl where there's some breakfast with Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, that's the, like you guys, in Starbucks, or if you're a West Coast or In-N-Out Burger, there's that secret menu. Yeah. Well, we have a secret menu too. And there are a lot of inventory that we don't put on the market. Some of that inventory we hold and create unique experiences you've never heard about. So one of which was, we had 4 people that we took 4 on the 50 tickets, which is in the center right by the 50-yard line. And they ended up paying, almost mid-6 figures for each and every one of those tickets. But it included lots of things. Duplex suite at the Wynn, but it also included a breakfast with Tom Brady. And it was a huge value. And the people who bought it, I talked to them personally, and they loved it, and they asked for, like, what else could we get? Because it's more than just going to the game. Now they have an experience that they had a private breakfast in their room with Tom Brady. Who gets that, right? And if you're a fan, that is off the charts, off the charts. Wouldn't be good for you or I, as Giants fans.
No.
But
I would take maybe not for mid-6 figures, but I'd take a breakfast with Tom Brady.
$500 million for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus. In the South, we would say there's some people that got more money than sense. If they're buying
that's a good line. I
$500,000
like that line.
Those are Paul's targets.
It wasn't a $500,000 a ticket. It was a little lower than that,
Okay.
but it was a lot of money.
Only 400.
So, I mean, Super Bowl, obviously a huge marquee event, but in any season, right, there's things that pop up. And Bob, I mean, you guys just hosted a mega global event.
Yes.
With the Galaxy's home opener and hosting Messi. And can you kind of paint us a picture of kind of how you guys approached the event, what the venue felt and looked like, what the kind of the surrounding area, and then, maybe most importantly from there is how you guys are looking to take advantage of that moving forward.
Absolutely. We did all the standard things you would do to capitalize upon the event from a ticketing perspective, in that, you had to buy, access was determined by, buying a package, right? So again, I'm going to talk about my kids, but I wanted to ensure, I knew I would be able to go, but I knew there was a 9-year-old in my house that would also be very excited to go. So even I bought a package to make sure I had a ticket. But then, the experience of the game was tremendous. We have a new LA Galaxy sports park at Dignity Health Sports Park, where there's futsal courts and where you can play 5-on-5 soccer. You can even play pickleball. So that opened up hours before the game. And again, to avoid the LA traffic, you could get there early. And for us, it was great. We got there early. I dropped my kid into a 5-on-5 game, and he seamlessly went in. And then, the game itself, there were some certainly new entertainment options. We had a DJ, Alesso, Matt, did I get that right? Alesso? So we had a DJ for our game, which, we hope the fans enjoyed. But I think, like I was saying before, we reminded everybody what we're really good at. If you haven't been to a game since Beckham, or you hadn't been to a game since Robbie Keane, or you hadn't been to a game since Chicharito, we reminded everybody that maybe we're not in, pursuing these famous international designated players anymore, but going to a Galaxy game is still a great experience for you and your family. And we played very well that night, and I think we probably should have won, but everybody got what they wanted when Messi scored that goal, especially the 9-year-old that lives in my house, who I was afraid was going to start crying if he got subbed out or didn't score a goal. So it was a win-win all the way around.
But that's a prime example of what we mean by redefining live. If you think about it, everything that you're hearing in terms of development around the live experience involves extending your interaction with it. Come early, stay late, do other things, bring your family. So you're asking people to come in and spend an exorbitant amount of time with you. And the thing that I think rights holders have to get their head around is the live experience is the totality of the time and the totality of the people who are in the room when you come. So your obligation to make the live experience the best it can be extends far beyond what happens on the field. Like, I'll tell you a prime example. You go to these events with your family. Try taking a small child still in diapers to an event and be there for 6 hours. You're not going to find a diaper anywhere in any store on the grounds. That is you failing as a rights holder, as an event person, because you are not thinking about the totality of the live experience. Try going to the US Open and realizing it was supposed to be cold and holy hell, it's 95 degrees. Where's suntan lotion? You didn't think about the totality of that. There's some great companies out there. We're invested in one, SOS Media, that's doing a great deal to think about that and how they put the totality of experience in front of the fans and put those products and those things that enable your fans to stay longer, do more, and be comfortable in doing so. But it's shocking to me that more venues, more event holders, more rights holders aren't thinking about how you have to redefine live to include that entire experience.
I'm going to add to that, though. It's not just that. It's respecting every single buyer uniquely. So Disney does this really well. I'm going to take us out of sports for a second. Disney does this really well. If you, no matter what price point you come to Disney at, you have their mission is to give you a Disney experience, no matter what. And the reason why is sometimes people will take 5 years or 10 years or a lifetime to buy a Disney trip for their family. And they are staying at a value resort. They are just getting a regular park pass, and they're having a QSR food experience. Then there are those that decide on a Thursday, let's go for the weekend. They fire up their private jet, they go stay at a concierge level, they get private access, cut the rides, all of that, right? You can't look at how much someone spends and understand that relationship. You have to respect every single buyer from the top to the bottom as if they spent their entire life saving up for that experience. So if at a sport event, that's the same thing. What you're doing on the 3 level is so good because you're respecting that buyer. Just like that tunnel suite buyer, right. You're respecting them. The respect level on all sides of this is so important. You got out of me the high value ticket of the Super Bowl, which is on the secret menu, but we also have the entry level side of it too. And if you go to our entry level experience, we have that same level of respect. It's how we think about every single one of our customers, and it's something that is important to learn.
So I'll just shameless plug for Cosm. I think one of the things that's interesting is our business couldn't exist without the live product. So live games have to happen to make Cosm successful, and that's the experience we deliver is ultimately the experience of being like you're at the game. But I do think accessibility is key, and that's one of the things I mentioned earlier, democratizing access, whether it's price point, but also our facilities are about 2,000 person capacity. Inside the dome itself is about 700. It's a smaller form factor than your typical arena or stadium. Ingress and egress is a lot simpler. The first venue we're opening is just outside Hollywood Park, or inside Hollywood Park, just outside SoFi Stadium at the end of June. And getting in and out hopefully doesn't take 6 hours for the full day's experience. And maybe we can be a complement and supplement for what's happening with these sometimes difficult and rigorous day experiences for live sports. So you can get the feeling of being at a game or an event with a rich hospitality experience. We aspire to have the US Open in LA and our second venue in Dallas and be able to serve you a honeydews. And we're going to charge you $25 or whatever it is, and like if maybe we can give you a little sense of being in Flushing even though you're in LA.
I'm still not over the fish and chips at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I can't even.
Bangers and mash, I should have said.
I can't with fish and chips at 7 a.m.
That's good.
We'll get you something else. We got a nice long menu.
Honeydews is any time of the damn day, but fish and chips, I don't know.
Yeah. But no, I think so that's part of the goal here, which is making these types of experiences accessible from a price point, but also accessible from an approachability, in different cities and things like that.
Peter, maybe staying on that for a minute, when we were talking earlier this week, obviously what you guys are doing involves complex technology, but you mentioned kind of it's really about that fan experience, and it should be so immersive that the fans almost forget that the tech that they're in when they're in a Cosm venue. Can you tell me a little bit more about kind of that approach?
Yeah, so I think, I said the phrase earlier, state of the art. Like when you're talking about like 8K live streaming of sports and large scale LED domes, it definitely is very complex. But our goal is really to deliver an experience. Cosm powers experiences. So we want you to be sitting inside of a Cosm with hundreds of other people, and we want the dome and the tech to fade away, and we just want you to feel like you're sitting in the stadium, or we have a partnership with Cirque du Soleil, so in that theater, or we work with creators and musicians and artists. We want you to be fully immersed in that experience without thinking about the pixels and without thinking about what actually drives that. So I think that's critical. I think too, again, it all ties through, like, people want to be with people. You mentioned Apple Vision Pro, like it's going to be an incredible product. Obviously, having used it, it's going to be phenomenal, but ultimately you're putting something on your face and you can't turn and have a conversation with Liz, and you can't drink a beer without having to lift it up, or you can't high five after a touchdown, And so you can get that in our building, which is a very, it's almost like Back to the Future is what I said. It's a very simple thesis. People want to be, Bob wants to cheer with his kid when Messi scores a goal, and he wants to hug the random, fan behind him that also was there with their kid.
To be clear, I was cheering for the Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. Sure. Apologies.
I'll make sure to send Todd a note.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think that's part of it. We want the tech to go away. We want the content to speak for itself. We want people to celebrate the other people. I mean, it's really about the community, and that's the through line of all live events, whether it starts well before, whether it's during the game, or well after. It's like you're experiencing that with other people, and that's what we try to deliver.
So, I mean, obviously we are at a data conference, and we've touched on it a little bit, but, want to talk a little bit specifically about how we're using data to kind of constantly evolve and improve the live event experience for the property, the fan, the partners, the brands. And Bob, maybe going back to you and some of, and if this is the right example, great. If you have a different one, please feel free. But with some of the renovations you guys are doing at Crypto, what data did you look at and consider in terms of what the right types of renovations to do, or other information you guys kind of pulled in to figure out what you wanted to do there?
Sure. We had data on wait times in concession lines, and so we knew that we had to provide easier access to concessions, and so we had a couple of Amazon just walk outs installed, which have been really great, and certainly more. We knew the wait times were high, and so the grab and go concept was something that we really leaned into, and in some instances had to, because with the terrace suites that we put in, that actually took away some concession space. So we had to modify, but I would say that was probably the biggest thing that we looked into with our data.
And do you guys have plans, or are you already with some of the renovations measuring any of the improvement in the fan experience from that?
Yeah, of course. That's something that we're always looking into, like ingress and egress times. We partnered with American Express to do a dedicated entrance for card holders. But certainly, yeah, we need to know. We need to know what's working and what's not working so that we can adjust. So we're always measuring, we're always looking at those types of things to make, and it's nice that we've had kind of a 3-year runway for this renovation, so we can see what's working, what isn't working, and it, truthfully, it's been somewhat fluid. The plans have changed. There was going to be a stairway by the bar on the premier level, but that's not going in now. Through the study of like I said, the ingress and egress, it was decided that it wasn't needed, or it was going to materially impact the sales of that bar there. So that's been the nice thing about doing it in phases.
You mentioned Amex, and I think, Liz, on the brand side, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but can you share an example of one or more of your clients or brands that you feel are really driving value for the venue or partners or fans, and how that's also then impacting the conversations with prospects or future collaborations?
Well, I think we're in an evolution, and thankfully we're on the downslope of that, with all these brands being very sophisticated about the decisions that they make. We're gone are the days of the execu whim, which is what we like to call it. It's really profoundly rooted in the data. It's what is my customer there for? What do they want? How do we deliver against that with this partner? And what's the expected return from that? The interesting brands, and Amex is an excellent example of this, but the interesting brands are the ones who are committed to it in a profound way. Data is not just some little stat. It's like, well, the stat says boom, and you don't just drop it on top of your salad like it's a crispy little crouton and move on. You've got to have it integrated into everything you do, day in, day out, around all of it, completely mixed in to the whole overall mix of what you're doing. And if you do that and you're committed to it, you get to the point where you don't need the thud of the data. Like, we always talk about drowning in this data, but really starving for that one or two little insights that will drive you forward. The really good brands, Amex is an example of this, is I'll collect all the data and I'll understand what I'm doing, but because I've been committed to it for so long, I actually know the one metric that moves the needle, and it's so damn good, it's predictive. So when I can catch that one nugget of information, I can tell you before they sign a deal how much value they're gonna get on the outside of it. So if you know that and it's that powerfully connected and you've committed to studying your consumer and the fan and the partner as many times as you have, then at the end of the day, I'll collect all the data. I want that one. Tell me that stat, that piece of information, and then I will weave it all over that salad like it's nobody's business and get more and more and more and more and more value out of the deal. Those are the brands that I think do a really good job, but it takes patience, it takes commitment, and a real focus on the to what end of everything you're doing. Go back to my friend at Nike, does it sell more shoes?
And in maybe more of the traditional leagues, there's tons of games, multiple seasons. You get to kind of learn year over year. Paul, on the Olympics and Paralympics, right? We've kind of reinvented the model on hospitality there for the games. It's not something that's existed in the games before, and part of the reason that we all got together to do this deal was also to take it across multiple games, to take those learnings. So how are you guys thinking about both maybe the lack of data coming into Paris, but also how you guys are going to leverage the information and the learnings from Paris moving forward so that when we get to LA28, it's just, beyond belief?
LA28 is going to be unbelievably amazing. No question. We got you on this one.
Appreciate it.
What Allison's referring to is the redefinition of the games is, in the past, first of all, if you went to a game, you would get tickets, and it's generally hard to get a ticket at that point. And if you got something, it was pretty much of a low interest sport. So there wasn't a global ticketing offering, and there wasn't a global hospitality offering. The way it was done before was the host country would sell tickets within their country. The stakeholders or the advertisers' partners would get their allotments of tickets. They would use it, like P&G or Visa would give it away as part of their card member program or loyalty program. And then hospitality was done by a fractured group of resellers that would generally sell it up. And it was very much of a leakage throughout the whole ecosystem. Led by Casey Wasserman and also LA28, they reinvented the Olympic ecosystem by creating a global ticketing offering. So you can buy a general ticket now from all over the globe, and a global hospitality product, so that there's one consistent product now that connects hotels, ticketing, hospitality, transportation, meet and greets, events, all of that together. It's very complex. Going into it, the hard part is most of the world doesn't understand, first of all, what is an Olympic experience. That's number one, because it happens every 4 years for a summer game. Number two, and there were 4 key learnings, by the way. Number two is, because there's no understanding of it, there's no data that helps us understand what people really want to do, because there's no predictive aspect to it yet. Number three is, there's no global marketplace that has a database that we can draw from to go sell that and connect with people on it. And fourth is, by the time we teach them all of this in Paris, it's 4 more years till we get to LA, right? So it's a big process. The way we look at it is Olympic years are like quarters that take place over an extended time. It's like, light years in a way. So the way we're going to be looking at is, one is, as we start this marketing effort on Paris, we're capturing all that data. We're understanding the consumer behavior, what they want, what they don't want, and that education process is incredibly valuable. The most important thing that we're trying to do, though, is surprise and delight. So when you hear about the games, you go to the games, and when you see the promotion from the games, you're then going to understand the reinvention of the product. It does take time. I will tell you, if you want to see an Olympic experience, go to Paris. Truly, this will be a game like no other game. And if, as a student, if you're not working, volunteer and go. Get a volunteer product, because what the IOC, Paris 24, LA28 has a huge hand into it as well, and us as their partner, what we're building for the Paris Games. No other sporting event around the world will have seen what we're going to be able to create right now.
I think the thing that a lot of people miss that's so brilliant about what you guys are doing at LA28 is you talk about purchase to memory. If you look at the data, this is just pure science, like psychology and consumerism, is the bad memory is way more persistent than the good one.
That's right.
And so what was happening with the Olympic experience, because it was so fragmented and because it was all over the place, is the inconsistency. You spend all the money, all the time, all the effort to get there, and the unpredictability and inconsistency of the experiences you would have could create a bad memory. And it's a lot harder to erase a bad memory than it is to recapitalize on a good one.
Yeah.
And the opportunity cost that was missing in between was, I think it's brilliant that we're finally pulling that together and getting it done.
You know, look, I came from the media side, as I mentioned. I worked on magazines, and one of the magazines I worked on was Sports Illustrated, and we had the rings for many years, and we would take customers to the Olympics every Olympic and entertain them. That you'd want to do. NBC, you'd want to go with them. Wasserman, you'd want to go with them. You don't want to go as a citizen. And that's what we've been trying to do now is we offer a product that is like going with Wasserman. I want to go with Liz. If I go with Liz, I know what I'm going to get.
Oh, well, it's super fun.
It's super fun.
Especially in Paris, there's wine.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. But that's what you want to do. So that's what we're bringing to bear now. So that's redefinition of sports, grounded in data and analytics, because what we did is we did all the studies to understand what would make that experience right and what is the logistics of it. Last thing I'll say on it, though, is complexity. It's real. These things are not easy. It sounds simple. It's not. A Super Bowl was the biggest world event there ever was prior to us creating this. There are 22 products that we create for the Super Bowl, and we generally take care of about 15,000 people in the stadium and about 50,000 or 40,000 people throughout the whole week, okay, for parties and things like that. The Olympics is, it's 4,500 products, 7,500 events, right, or something like that. 750 events, 4,500 products, and we will have 750,000 plus or so tickets and taking care of about 200,000 to 300,000 people.
It's a Super Bowl every day for 3 weeks.
A Super Bowl every day for 3 weeks.
Who's the breakfast with?
About it.
Casey.
Liz. No, we have a fleet of Olympians that you're going to have different levels of experiences with. Awesome. Because we're global, remember? So US has a lot of you want to go with Lindsey Vonn. But if you're from Germany, you don't care about Lindsey Vonn. And if you're from China, you definitely don't care about Lindsey Vonn, right? So we have to serve 206 territories and countries. It's not just one.
Yeah, well, and the other wild thing about the way that things used to work is because the distribution went to national Olympic committees, who then, on-sold from there, none of that consumer and customer data was captured by the movement. So when you think about, LA28 is a one-season team, is what we call ourselves, but the health of the movement is reliant on knowing who the fans are, and all of that data, all of that information
It just
never
makes
came
my
into-
heart hurt a little bit,
right?
actually.
I mean,
It's
it's
sad.
insane.
No, it's a really good point. And it leaked every time because the turnover, and also the sponsors or stakeholders, there was the global sponsors, but there was only a handful, but it's the sub-sponsors that changed every game.
Yeah. So before we move to questions, maybe just one wrap up, and we can kind of go down the line again, maybe Bob, starting with you, is from the live event experience, what do we think we're getting right now, and what are we missing and kind of need to consider as we look towards the future?
I think I'll stay on the data theme. I think and this is a little bit away from how the fan experience is, but talking about our brand partners is properties. We're reliant on media value, very reliant on media values, and we'll still sell a lot of sponsorships based upon the media value. But we need to start measuring more than that. We need to do a better job of measuring the actual return on the investment. Did it sell more shoes? We need to know that. And so I think that's an adjustment for the properties, because it means we have to budget more for that membership, or we have to upsell those deals to include that membership in order to be able to do it. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to increase those sponsorships, is by showing the return on that investment. So I think getting back to the data piece, there's a lot of data out there, and we need to make sure that we are mining it, and then we are showing the return on the investment to the brand partners. And I don't think necessarily every property realizes that.
I think when people have touched on it, what we're doing right, or at least it's really evolving rapidly, is the live event, as I think Liz mentioned, is much more than just like starts, clock stops. I mean, it is, you're making a lifestyle decision beyond just going to a game to watch the action on the court or the field. So how can you, like, fans are self-selecting. So the programming that we've chosen in Cosm is, NBA, UFC. We know that these people, if you're an NBA fan, you're going to choose to watch you're a Lakers fan, you're going to choose to watch the Lakers on any given night. You're going to try to put yourself in the best position to watch that game. At OnLocation, you're just delivering the best experience of watching whatever the Super Bowl, right? Like, so fans want to watch, they want to watch together, they want to have an experience that's more than just, the actual on-court action. And I think what we're talking about is a nice range of delivering that, OnLocation being kind of the highest end, but leaning it more into that so that you're just capturing people's, inherent behavior to want to experience that brand.
Rapid fire, I think what we're getting right is respecting the emerging definitions of why people are there and what they're there for, what a live event is, what a fan is, et cetera. I think what we're getting wrong still, although we're making strides, is completely ignoring half of your potential audience. I think we are not spending enough time, enough money, enough energy respecting the female fan and respecting how she buys, who she buys for, the amount of wallet she controls, and the amount of influence she has over both male and female sports consumption. So we're getting better, but we're still a little bit of a finger wag away from being as good as we should be.
Well, I just heard a stat this morning on this very subject because we're about to experience the largest transfer of wealth ever.
I read that too.
From
boomers to millennials. That was a whole article this morning.
Boomers to millennials, but it's going to go from male control to female control.
What I tell people all the time, thanks to the lovely research done by our collective, is ignore the Gen Z female at your peril.
Yeah, 100%.
At your peril, because not only is she going to control 95% of the wallet, she's going to be pissed off if you don't realize that and respect it.
That's something that, so to add to that, what we're recognizing is that everything designed in sports has been designed for the man to experience, and we haven't really thought it through for the women. So we have been putting a lot of effort to developing products with women in mind for that reason. So the experience has to be not just democratized, but completely driven towards that. I'll give you an example right now is the NCAA, we do the NCAAs, all the NCAA sports, all 23 sports. We handle all of their finals. And the highest grossing increase of sport this year is women's basketball. The NCAA final, the tournament right now for women's tickets is accelerating. Why? Of course, the Caitlin Clark effect, right? But in tonight, she's playing, and it's the most expensive women's basketball ticket in the history is tonight for the game she's playing. Watch that. What's going on with women's soccer? Watch that, because that's going to go take off. And you're going to see every female sport now, because you're seeing young women looking up to iconic women, and it's going to create a ripple effect, significant. And that is where the future has to pay attention.
Go girls.
Exactly. So a couple of different audience questions, and again, conscious of time and alcohol behind this.
And giveaway. Don't forget your
giveaway. Oh, and the
giveaway.
giveaways.
Did they show up?
Yeah, they're here.
Okay, cool.
Kind of throw this out to anyone on the panel, but there was a question around how is designing the live experience for a team sporting event like soccer, football, basketball different from an individual event like golf or tennis, or maybe premise, is it different?
It's huge.
That's really interesting. I'm just looking around thinking we should have a property person on this panel. It just occurred to me. Yeah, it's everything is bespoke. Everything that's good is bespoke. And so if you look at, but it's really interesting. We were talking about this earlier today. Even group and team sports are somewhat about the individual because of the consumption pattern of the new audiences. I'm there because I'm watching a particular player, or God love her, I'm there because my favorite singer is dating a particular player. So even in a environment that is team sport, it is very often about the individual with the new and emerging audiences. So you've got to be bespoke to the experience, but recognize and respect that I think there's sort of a fluid like not quite so hard line between what is an individual sport and what is a team sport these days.
Yeah, I think you also have to look at it as the venue. So venue differences matter. So when you're talking about a golf, the venue obviously is not a seated venue. It's a different kind of venue, unless you're at the Ryder Cup, which does have a seated component to it. And then with tennis being individual, you're moving from venue to venue because you want to experience all the U.S. Open or all the Roland Garros has to offer. All of that matters. What I will tell you, though, the way you want to think about it is the venue is not limited to the footprint of the stadium or the place. The venue is the city, the hosts, it's the whole experience. And if you went to the Super Bowl this year, the moment you walked into the Las Vegas airport, you felt the Super Bowl. And that is coming up more and more and more. If you go to the Masters, you walk into Augusta, you're in the Masters. It's before you walk through the bamboo, you're at the Masters. That's different.
I think it's not an individual sport, but for us, AEG, we have both sports and music. So we've been able to some of the things that we're used to in sports, we're able to bring to music, right? Like there's a VIP area at Coachella, but there wasn't necessarily an area for us to hang with our partners, right? Like, what do you mean we don't have a suite, right? So that's something that we built. The Friends of Andrew and Stu, for anybody that knows Andrew Klein and Stu Heathcote, it was something that we had to have so that, because we leverage our entire platform for our partnerships. When you come to AEG, you're not just a partner of the Galaxy, or you're not just a partner of the Kings, but you might also get to go to the Grammys. You might also get to go to Coachella. You might also get to go to Stagecoach. So a lot of the things that we do in sports, we've also brought to music specifically with Coachella.
And maybe just to wrap it up here, one more question around, how does increased access to players in the age of social media impact the future of live events?
Y'all want me to go again? I'll go again. I was trying to be polite.
Yeah, I would just say, it's kind of linked to the first question a little bit, and to Liz's point, like there's a convergence between there's just so many people that are fans of Steph Curry, and they don't really care as much about the Warriors. So in some ways, I would say it's unbelievably helpful because now you have an amplification of marketing and people that follow athletes, and they're talking about coming to. I think at NBA All-Star they had Victor Wembanyama speak, and just kid's 19 and he just thinking about how business savvy he already is and cultivating different platforms for different use cases that he's trying to satisfy. And people that's just going to help the Spurs. That's going to help the NBA. His platform of direct to consumer to his fans is something that I'm sure the Spurs media team, social media team, is ecstatic over. And obviously that's going to get bumped when he goes to Paris. And they're just it has to be just incredibly helpful for the live event. Business in terms of selling tickets, but also then carrying that story through. If you're impressed by an athlete at a live event, you might follow them as the story that leaves you leaving the arena and connecting games. So
I think the thing that people have got to realize, and people always talk about the younger generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha coming behind them, being not as avid of a sports fan. They don't follow the Patriots die hard the way I did. Who cares?
Right.
What I'll tell you what the data shows is that particular audience, the avidity for sports within that audience has gone nowhere. Their consumption of that avidity has gone everywhere. And part of that is that one-to-one relationship and one-to-one connection that they have with players. So at the end of the day, respect that, own that, use that. Athletes are the ultimate influencers, and these audiences want to consume an influencer's opinion. Use it. Bring them into your fandom. I joked a minute ago about Taylor Swift. I don't know why anybody and their damn brother is concerned with Taylor Swift. All she's done is bring in legions of new eyeballs into football. Who cares why they're there? Take advantage of the fact that they're there for an individual that isn't even on the field, and you don't have to pay. And use it and build your sport and build your fandom and sell your little merch that says, I'm root for Taylor's boyfriend.
Somehow or other, I think they're paying her. I'm pretty sure. But
She's too busy completely rigging elections or whatever the hell she's supposed to be
all
doing.
the conspiracy theories. I would say that the difference between sports and music is in sport, you get into the professional level because of your talent. In music, you get to the highest level because of your social following. That's the difference, right?
Well, they kind of have to be a little talented too.
They have to be talented, but you can be even moderately talented and still do well because your social following will take you. That's the difference between music and sport. But to make money as an athlete, you have to take advantage of that. So you take advantage of your fame on the field, and you use your social following to drive it. That's where the NIL money comes in. That's where ultimately your endorsement money comes in. And all of us in the industry have to understand that for us to do our job well, we have to learn from all of that. That we have to amplify our own stories so that we don't have to tell it one-on-one. We can tell it at scale.
Awesome. Well, I think that is a great place to end it. If everyone could join me in thanking our wonderful panelists.
You want to do your giveaway?
Oh, yes, Paul.
You want to do a giveaway? All right. We all started off by talking about what was our first experience in sport that changed our life. So Robert had one. Who remembers Robert's?
Oh, the taking your
You in the
kid.
back?
Oh, no. This is going with your
Yeah,
dad. Okay, sorry.
No, it was him.
Oh.
Is that right?
That's
Okay,
correct.
you win. Okay.
Peters?
Peter? Yeah? There you go.
Say it louder.
No. I was
Who's remembers Liz's? Yeah? Yeah, you.
Oh.
All right, you both can win. You both won it. There's enough for both of you. And then mine? You? Yeah.
See?
Why are you so angry? Yeah, that's right. Okay, you win too. Thank you all.